When you get less than 7 hours of sleep, your central nervous system starts to stall. Neural firing rates drop, and your response times begin to lag behind reality. The standard response to this pre-game exhaustion is a physical warm-up. You stretch, you jog, and execute dynamic drills to force blood into your muscles. But while the limbs are getting ready to move, the brain often remains stuck in a low-power state. Researchers proposed a counterintuitive solution to this fatigue. They suggested that taking a sleep-deprived athlete and forcing them through intense mental work right before a game might actually sharpen their performance rather than draining their remaining energy. This concept is known as cognitive priming. The goal is to use a specific mental load to trigger a state of central nervous system arousal, effectively starting the engine of the brain before the body is called to action. Physical drills prepare the hardware, but if the brain remains in a fatigued state, there is a measurable disconnect between the muscle's readiness and the mind's ability to drive them. To find the limit of this effect, scientists recruited 31 elite padel players. These athletes were restricted to just 60% of their normal sleep, and then put through 8 different testing sessions to see how their bodies responded to varying levels of mental strain. Between physical drills like sprinting and jumping, the researchers intermixed sets of the Stroop task. This required the players to name the color of a printed word while ignoring the word itself, a task that demands high levels of cognitive inhibition and focus. This flowchart tracks the variables used to find the threshold. Researchers tested players after 0, 10, 17.5, and 30 minutes of mental tasks. Notice the timeline at the bottom. This was a continuous protocol. Physical and mental exercises were performed back-to-back without rest. At the 0-minute baseline, shot accuracy was severely compromised by lack of sleep. As mental priming was introduced, performance spiked at 10 and 17.5 minutes, mitigating the sleep deprivation. But at 30 minutes, the trend plunges, dropping performance below having no warm-up at all. We see this clearly in the specific shot data for these paddle players. Both the volley and drive accuracy follow this inverted V-shape, with a total crash occurring at the 30-minute mark. This pattern was consistent across all complex technical movements. Whether it was the afterglass shot or the bandeja, the data shows the same curve of initial improvement followed by a collapse. This is the Goldilocks effect, a precise window of mental effort that optimizes the brain. Too little priming leaves the system sluggish, but too much is toxic to performance. To prove this was a biological role rather than an athletic fluke, Study 2 looked at a completely different demographic, 32 sedentary older adults between the ages of 68 and 77. These participants were sleep-deprived to 50% of their normal rest and then tested on functional movements like sit-stands, arm curls, and walking distance. Even in a state of exhaustion, the older adults performed better after a combined warm-up. As the markers show, their scores for sit-stands and arm curls were significantly higher than those who only did physical exercises. Their reaction times showed a similar trend. This downward curve in the PVTB graph represents faster responses and sharper cognitive inhibition after the combined warm-up. The results suggest that these combined protocols are a universal countermeasure against the performance declines caused by both aging and fatigue. This research changes how we define a warm-up. It requires targeting 2 systems at once. Beyond physical blood flow to the limbs, the central nervous system requires specific priming to operate the body's hardware at full capacity. The Goldilocks protocol involves intermixing 10 to 15 minutes of cognitively demanding tasks into standard routines. This allows the mental arousal to override the sluggishness associated with sleep loss. However, the 30-minute crash serves as a warning. Exceeding 20 minutes of high mental strain before an event creates a cognitive deficit that the body cannot compensate for. In practice, this can look like using brain training apps or complex decision-making drills during stretching periods, forcing the brain to engage while the muscles are being prepped. Finding that precise dose of mental exertion overrides the inherent sluggishness of a tired system. It allows the body to access its full potential, even when the underlying neural network is operating on a deficit.